Oh, the chickens are going to give me a run for my money. Go. We'll see. This may be a bad idea. Get me a stick. So today I ran to town to pick up groceries from Robert so he could go work and not have to come back to the house to bring the groceries back. And on my way back, there was this girl that I saw walking, and she had her arms crossed and looked like she was uncomfortable. And I saw this guy behind her with a bicycle, and he was actually walking at the time, pushing his bicycle, but he looked like he was following her. And I just kind of watched him in my rearview mirror and thought, just in case, he just looked suspicious to me. So I was watching him, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to turn around and go back. So I ran the block, came back around, and came up next to them. And actually, while I was driving, before I turned around, I looked back in the mirror, and I saw that she had crossed the road, and then he had crossed after her. And so when I turned around and came back, they were on the same side of the street, and she was kind of up on a sloped part, up to a building, and he was up there like he was following her. She didn't look like she wanted him there. And so I pulled up, and he looked. I rolled my window down. He looked at me and he said, "She doesn't need a ride." And I looked at her and I said, "Is he bothering you?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Get in." And so she was like, "Thank you." And he started to come over towards the car and said, "Well, can I have a ride?" And I said, "No." So as soon as she got in, I locked the doors and we took off. And then I asked her where she was going, and she told me. So I kind of took a little bit of, it wasn't a long way, but took a different turn so he wouldn't see where we were going, and dropped her off there and went back. But it just got me to thinking about how when I was a kid, I remember taking this class in some gaps. There's only certain things I remember, but one of the things I remembered from this class, it was about safety. And it was about when you think you might be followed, then you cross the street. And that was part of the trigger for me with her, and seeing her cross the street and him following her. If she crossed the street and then he followed her, then chances are that he's probably following her. It probably was not a coincidence that he crossed the street. If you do it again, then it's definitely not an accident that he followed you. So I just wanted to give some of those tips. That's one of the things is if you think someone's following you, cross the street, see if they're still following you. I also remember, and I don't know if this one was in the class, but I do remember that when friend and I, we went to the beach, and some people were following us home from the beach. And if you think someone's following you, don't go home. Unless I guess someone's there, then it's probably still not a great idea, but it depends on how old you are. But we pulled into someone else's house. I don't even think we knew who they were, but we knew better than to let them see where we lived. And we pulled up in a driveway where people were outside. There was somebody there. So don't go home if someone's following you. One of the other things is you can go to a public place. Now, she was on foot, so she wasn't going to be in a public place yet. She was headed to a public place, but she wasn't there yet. So in her case, her crossing the streets was a good way to do that. And there are cars that drive past, so if anyone paying attention would notice, like me, that she wasn't wanting his attention. So I just thought I would share those tips. I also found, let me see what they were called. 14 ways to be less followable. And this was on foot or in a vehicle. It was both things. If someone might follow you, there were some tips on that. So if you would like those, shoot me a message and I will get those to you. And y'all be safe out there. Watch out for other people.